Well, hey, what's up, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of the Amazing Seller Podcast. This is episode number 750. My name is Scott Volker, and I'm here to help you build a future-proof business so you can create the ultimate freedom. But you have to, and there's always a but, you have to take what you learn here from the podcast and take action, and you can become the amazing seller of your life. So if you're ready, I'm ready. Let's do this. All right, well, we are going to be doing something a little bit different today, and I am in San Diego right now in a hotel room. If you can hear the difference in audio quality, that is why. I have a Zoom mic, which is hanging off of a desk where my computer is. You might hear a little bit of an echo, and I'm sitting here because, well, I just wrapped up doing the audio book in San Diego at Southwest Studios, and it was an amazing experience. But I am also here with one of my closest friends and someone that was also part of this book because he was part of my childhood, and you guys might know who he is. He has been at all of our live events, and actually at Brand Accelerator Live, he was there. A lot of you got to meet him, and well, his name is Jimmy Krill, and he is here with me in the room today to record this episode after we just got done in the studio. So Jimmy, welcome to the podcast.
Well, thanks for having me. I never thought I'd be on the podcast, to be honest with you. You're at 750. I'm not fortunate enough to be in your, I'll call it podcast booth, if you will, where you record all your stuff. We are here in the hotel room with the little mic on the edge of the table, but I'm glad to be on the show. I just want to correct you real quick.
Yeah.
The place we went to, Studio West.
Isn't that what I said?
I think you said Southwest.
Oh, did I?
But
I don't know. I might have to go back and listen. Did I say that? I don't know.
That's fine.
Okay.
I just want to make sure they get their due credit. That's
Yes. And it was a great experience. And the reason why I wanted to do this episode was because you were actually in the engineers area, the booth, and I was in the other booth, and you actually listened to the entire read of the audiobook.
I did.
Yeah.
It's kind of different. And I was telling you that, if you're sitting there listening to Scott on a podcast, you got your earbuds in, and a lot of times you're doing other things. So I'll be doing other things, and I'll hear Scott in my ear. And sometimes I'll be like, am I talking to him on the phone, or is he? Oh, it's a podcast. Okay, it's fine. I kind of lose track of if I'm supposed to be paying attention to what you're telling me and then answer you. But it was almost similar to that because we were in that broadcast room or the control room.
Yeah.
And you were on speakers. We had a TV screen. There was no window between the two rooms. We were actually totally separate, and we had you on a TV screen. So that was a pretty neat experience. I enjoyed it.
Yeah, it was pretty crazy, and it was not easy. A lot of people think that, you're just going to read, and it's going to be very easy. No, there's a lot of starts and stops, and getting back into the rhythm, keeping the energy. And it was a learning experience. It was also one of those experiences that I kind of look back at and I'm like, I never would have thought that, number one, I wrote a book. Number two, that I'd be recording the book in San Diego. And then it's just funny because people that know my story, you and I grew up together playing Little League, and then, we, got older, and then you went off to college and I didn't, and I started working for my father's company. And then after you got out of college, you ended up starting to work for my father's company as well. We could talk a little bit about that, but I wanted to bring you on because a lot of that book, you heard a lot of those stories. You lived a lot of those stories with me. And a lot of it, I'm talking about like when I was growing up and the struggles that I had of, my mother going through rehab and battling alcoholism and just experiencing that stuff. So I kind of wanted to have you come on and we can kind of dig a little bit deeper into some of those stories, because a lot of people, they don't realize, they think that someone is just like, they wake up and they're either lucky or they just kind of waltz into this so-called success. And that's not always the case. The other thing I did want to touch on here before I forget is, if you guys are listening and you guys are thinking to yourself like, there's so many things that I want to do, and there's so many things that I should be doing, and I'm getting overwhelmed. This book read, after I got done reading it, and I was telling you this yesterday, Jimmy, is I wrote an email about it because there's a lot of things that I was going through as I was reading the book, and I'm like, I need to remind people of this, even if they're not ever going to read this book. But by the way, you should read the book and you should go grab your copy, and you can do that. Here's Jimmy here. I'm going to throw a little shameless plug in there. TakeActionEffect.com. That's where you can grab the physical copy of the book, Kindle, and coming soon, the audiobook on Audible. So I'll keep you guys posted on that. But definitely go grab the book if you want to really take the take action mindset or concept, I should say, and take that and really download it into your mindset, because it's a big, big piece here. But let's just kind of dig in. What were you thinking when I was starting to go through some of those stories?
Well, first off, you did a great job.
Oh, thanks.
For me, going in and trying to read through a book, there's no way I would. Well, first off, I have the book, okay?
Yeah, right.
I've got a copy of the book. I'm waiting for the Audible version to come out because I'm not a very good reader.
Right.
But you did a great job. You said there's a lot of stop and starts. Of course there was. You got to make it nice and smooth for that Audible portion. But I thought it was fantastic.
So as I was going through like some of those stories, and I mean, again, like, was there anything that when I touched on it, you were like, ooh, yeah, I remember that, or ooh, yeah, that's pretty crazy.
Yeah, I think one thing that really stands out to me is when you're talking about your mother and struggles and things like that. When we were kids, as a child, not knowing like what was going on at that moment, you wouldn't know that there was anything wrong in the background because of how she was. Like when we were over there playing, she was always having a good time with us. Like you said, she was the fun one down on the floor with the grandkids. And she was that same way with you and I when we were younger. I mean, obviously we were a little bit older, but still.
Right.
So that to me is one thing that stands out, is no matter what's going on in the background, you can still have a good front for people that you're around.
Yeah, you never know really what's going on behind closed doors.
No.
Right? I mean, you think that everything is like just okay, and it wasn't okay. And I was telling you, as I was going through, like my mother sitting me down on the corner of the bed, and I'll never forget this. And I was 13 years old, and she had said, your father and I are going to be getting a separation. I wanted to know, like, who do you want to live with? Like, I used to pray, and I was telling you this, I used to pray every single night, please don't let my parents get a divorce. Like, that would have been like the worst thing in the world for Scott. Because up to that point also, there was a lot of fighting in the house. There was a lot of arguing back and forth. There was just a lot of my mother being in her room, like I was telling you, and I even talked a little bit about it in the book. But I mean, my mother was going through a lot of depression. And as a young kid, I mean, I was going to AA meetings with her, and I was just exposed to this whole other world of what it was like to live with someone that was going through all of these mental hurdles. Guys, I talk a little bit about this in the book, and I'm not hiding anything from anyone. It's just in the book, I didn't want to have to go like 4 chapters about my childhood, but I did want people to know that I really did have a tough childhood, a good childhood. I had 3 really good friends that myself, Greg and Eric, we like hung out all the time on the street. We had this little neighborhood, and we played baseball in the summer. We played football in the fall, and in the winter, we would just go sleigh riding. Like we had a good group of kids, and we had a really good time. But it wasn't always an easy thing.
No,
it wasn't. So I wanted to bring you on to also just dig into a little bit more of even some of the stories that might not have been told. One story in particular, you're going to remember this. You're going to love this story. You and I were sitting down. Remember, we used to get the JCPenney catalog.
Okay, yeah, I know where this story's going.
So we used to get that JCPenney catalog, and we used to look through it, and we would just dream about these different things that we wanted. So we started to think to ourselves, maybe we should start a band.
And everybody knows that you play guitar
Yep.
and that you had a band, basically, right?
Yeah.
You had the long hair and the whole thing.
Well, this was before all that, but
This was before.
I was always dreaming of that, right? Like, and so I forget how old we were. We were probably around 11, 12 years old, something like that. And so we thought, we're circling all of these different products. We wanted a guitar, we wanted an amplifier, we wanted a drum set. I can still see the drum set and all the different kits, and it might have been like $200 or whatever.
I think we even had a keyboard on there.
A keyboard.
I don't know if we're going to be ELO or what we were going to be, but
So we were dreaming, right? And then I remember my father, who was always just working, three jobs or odd jobs or whatever to try to, put food on the table. And I remember seeing him take some scrap metal, and he loaded up his I think it was a Datsun, a red Datsun that he had, right?
Yeah.
Right? You remember that?
Oh, yeah.
And he loaded that thing up, and he thought he was going to go down and turn that in for some money because he thought it was aluminum. And he was going to buy me a new pair of sneakers, and he was going to take us all out to dinner. That was the goal of that, breaking down this. It was basically a shed that someone had busted down and put out by the road for the town to come take. Mm-hmm. And so he took that, and he went and got rid of it. And I got my sneakers and I got dinner. And I'm like, wow, all we got to do is find some scrap metal and we can basically buy stuff.
Yep, that's right.
So right down behind your house, well, do you want to tell a little bit more to this story?
Yep. So we had woods behind our house, and on the house next to either side of us, the woods was like a straight down cliff down to some water. But my backyard was the only one that could have access. Well, because of the neighbor, you couldn't even access to get back there. It was just so straight down. So people would throw trash down in there. Mm-hmm. So they'd throw, whatever kind of trash, but we're looking at
mufflers,
cans and mufflers, and so we're like, boy, there's all kinds of metal down there. We can get tons of cash. We can get our music stuff and start a band.
We'll go on tour.
Yeah, we were going on tour in our heads. We were ready to go.
Right.
So what do? We hop on our bikes. We go on down to my house, right? We go down in the woods, and remember I said this was pretty much straight down. So we're like walking up a sheer, yeah, pretty close, dragging up. There was a muffler.
There was mufflers. There was steel parts.
So we got as much as we could, right?
One little detail I want to throw in there. We found some rope, and we dragged it down to my yard.
Yep.
So there's sparks. Imagine this, sparks flying on the street because we're dragging these metal mufflers all rusted out, and we piled them all on our front lawn.
Yep. Brought them down to your house.
Yep.
Pile them up on the lawn, and there it was.
Pile of metal.
We're going to wait for Wally to get home from work.
Yep.
And we're going to throw the metal in that truck and have him take us over to the scrap yard and get our money.
Yep. And he came home.
He did.
And he said, "What the heck are you?" I think he used a couple other words there. He said, "What the heck are you guys doing? What are you doing with all this garbage all over our front yard?"
Why'd you bring all this garbage to my yard?
We said, "Well, we seen you last week grab that metal and brought it down, and you got some money for it. We figured we'd bring some more metal to you."
That's right. How'd that work out?
Well, he said, "Well, let me tell you something. Number one, he found out, he didn't tell us this till afterwards, but he found out that the metal he brought down was steel. And so he didn't really get the money he was hoping for on that load of metal. All right. So what he learned that day too is he needed to get a magnet to test if it was steel or aluminum. Mm-hmm. Well, everything we dragged up pretty much was steel.
That's right.
And so he said, well, here's what you guys are going to do. You're going to drag all that garbage back down where you found it off my front lawn.
Yep. That's right.
And that's what we did.
That's what we did. And how much time do you think we spent going down, pulling all that out, dragging it to your house, all excited about getting to bring it back, and then dragging it all the way back and having to, I guess we kind of tossed it down the hill at that point.
Yeah, we let it roll down into a place there. But we learned, well, again, this comes right back into what we do now. You need to validate.
Yeah, that's true.
And we didn't validate that stuff wasn't worth what we thought it was worth. We did all that work. And if my father would have told us at the time. I think he was a little embarrassed that he didn't get the money that he thought. He learned his lesson, but he didn't tell us kids that.
That's right.
And so because of that, we just assumed. So maybe Papa V, my dad, Wally, maybe he should have told us that.
That'd have been nice.
If he's listening to this, next time you might want to tell people that you made a mistake.
That's right.
So that's on him. But it was a valuable lesson. But again, that entrepreneurial kind of bug was always kind of in me, in you, trying to figure out whether it's a paper route or whatever, how do you go out there and make a buck? I mean, we were dreaming though, and again, I talk about that in the book. I talked about that in the book. And I mean, you heard it when I was reading it. You got to dream. A lot of times now as we get older, you don't dream as much. And why? Because you're like, well, either society or I don't think I can do that. Why don't you think you can do that? I mean, I look at myself being in that studio in San Diego, someone who doesn't typically like to travel. Okay, so a little fun fact here, guys.
Right.
Back in my childhood, Jimmy, what would I say to you if we were in the mall? And let's say I was 10 or 11 years old.
Right.
Okay, and I was in the mall. Now, remember, little backstory before you tell that part. Mm-hmm. I used to be very, very afraid that my mother was going to be gone when I came home because a lot of times she was. I say a lot of times, like probably 4 or 5 times in my childhood. One day she was there, the next day she was gone, and I didn't know why. Maybe when I was 5 years old, 7 years old, whatever. And then I found out later she had went off to rehab for 4 or 6 weeks, and then I would go visit her. So I had this anxiety of her not being there. I had this separation anxiety. So anyway, Jimmy, pick up the story.
Well, we weren't at the mall yet. We were going to go to the mall. Mm-hmm. I think my mother was going to bring us something like that. Mm-hmm. And you wouldn't go until I promised that if when you got home, if your mom or maybe both your parents weren't there, that you could live with me.
That's true.
And I think you might have even had me go in and ask my parents.
I might have. I don't think they would have said yes. I think you would have. I think you BS'd me there.
I think I might have. I don't remember. I probably shouldn't admit this right now, but I probably went in, came back out, and said, "Yeah, you're fine. Don't worry about it. Let's go."
Yeah.
But you had to know that you had a secure. You were coming back to something secure because you weren't 100% on the other situation.
Yeah. No, it was. That was real. I mean, and for the longest time, I mean, even as I got older, and I think that's why I'm a very rooted person, right? Like I like my home. I like my surroundings. I like to travel, but in spurts. I really like to be able to feel as though I'm safe, secure, and stable. And again, that's why even in the business world, I like to know that I'm stable and secure and I've got all my ducks in a row. Doesn't mean that you can't take risks, but as I talk about in the book, there's safety nets. There's always safety nets. You have safety nets, I have safety nets. And I talked about it. Like I could go out tomorrow. You and I we could skip this whole interview right now. We could forget anything else that we're doing and we can go out and start a remodeling business.
Sure.
We could totally do that.
Yep.
You and I could gut this whole room and basically put it all back together, probably better than it is right now.
Well, we're at the age where we'd probably try to figure out how to get some guys in here to do it, and then
this is true.
We'd check in.
And we were literally just talking about that too. And again, guys, this interview or this conversation, there is not really a whole bunch of structure because I wanted to just kind of riff and rant after I just got done with this audiobook experience that I just got through. Because it was another big moment for me, another take action moment as I talk about in the book. But you and I were I want to talk a little bit about what we just went through. I'm not going to reveal the niche or anything, but we'll talk a little bit of how that just came about.
Sure.
But you and I were talking and really, Brand Creators Academy, we just opened that up depending on when you're listening to this. And we opened it up to 100 founding members. And we had also some people from TAS Breakthrough U. We kind of merged the whole thing, but it's all about brand creating, right? And so you and I were talking and I'm like, my whole idea, whether I did Brand Creators Academy or not, I love real estate. Okay. Now I'm not big into buying a bunch of real estate, but I am big into doing this Airbnb thing because, well, you can get your return a lot faster, right? Cost a lot of money.
Sure.
And I was telling you the number. I mean, $300,000 to just get in the game. Right. So I'm like, you know what? I think I want to start building these online real estate properties. And all I need now is I got to be the one that can come up with the idea or validate the niche. And then once I do that, I want my subcontractors to go out there and just build the house.
Put it together.
Or maybe we buy a house that needs to be remodeled. Right.
Yeah, you were saying domains out there that have some traction, right? You could purchase that for a little bit of money. And like you said, finish the construction maybe or fix it up and get it going, right?
Exactly. It's like if you bought I use this example. If I took the lake house that we had as Airbnb, if I just left it as is, there is no way someone is going to pay $5,900 a week to stay there. Just not going to happen. Right? But now that we went in there and we knew that, but here's the other thing. We validated at first that the market would be willing to pay that if the house met this spec. Right, or these specs, right? So we had to bring it up to that high level, that premium quality, high level house, right? Like a premier luxury house. And so to do that, we had to drop some cash into it. But now that we got it there, we validated it, we're there. So the same thing, if we didn't take that and bring it up to where it needed to be, we wouldn't be able to get the money. Same thing goes here. Let's say that we buy a piece of real estate online. Someone's already built it up and they're making $1,000 a month. And that's great. Let's say that we buy that. I don't know. Let's say that we bought that for, let's just say we bought it for $5,000. All right. That'd be a pretty good deal. Right. And actually, if it was it'd be more like $36,000. Because if you did the 12, if we did a 3-time multiple, it'd be like $36,000. So let's say we bought it for $36,000. Okay. Now, if I knew that market, or if what they're doing for monetization, wise, if I knew that I could take that 1,000 and turn it into 3,000 with just a little bit of remodel work, who wouldn't do that?
That's right.
Or you're going to have another person that's like, I don't want to buy or I don't want to start something from scratch. I want to buy something that's already that's already kind of like built and erected. And that could be like Mike Jackness. We had lunch with Mike. He's like, I don't want to do something from scratch. I want to buy something that's already established that I know that I can grow. Right. So I don't know where I was going with that.
Well, you started talking. We're talking about safety nets and validation and all this stuff. I want to go back to, just because you have safety nets in place and all that doesn't mean that things are going to work out.
No.
The metal thing didn't work out.
Nope.
In the book, you talk about you had 2 other podcasts that didn't work out. I happen to be a speaker on one of them. Not just like we talk back and forth on all 6 or 7 episodes. And then, we stopped. That's another thing. Don't stop. I mean, there was no reason why we should have stopped. I mean, it's not like we were spending thousands of dollars.
Nope.
Just put out content. And just like with this, it was 50 episodes. You didn't have hardly any traction, right?
No, it was I had some traction, but I didn't monetize it until it was the 56th episode. I know that because it was Jungle Scout. It was with Greg Mercer.
Right. But, not everything's going to work out, but you got to keep trying things, or keep trying the thing you're working on, as long as you're not digging yourself a hole that you can't get out of, right? So I guess my point there is just, you had said everyone thinks that it all... Scott snaps his fingers and it all happens.
Turns to gold.
Well, that's not true. You had to go through some bumps and bruises. And some of those bumps and bruises made you say, I got to get some more safety nets underneath me so I don't fall too far. And that's an important thing.
So let me ask you this, because listening to the book and hearing like all of the different things, a couple questions. So number one, you listening to like all those things, all the way from construction to photography. I mean, you kind of seen all that. What do you looking back at that? Does it surprise you? What do you think now where I am today, and kind of where you've seen me come from? You and I worked side by side in construction for probably 7-8 years, right? And we helped build that company to what it was.
Right.
What do you like? Does it surprise you? Like what's your like looking at that trail that I've kind of blazed behind me?
Yeah, no, I mean, to me, there's no surprise, because you've always been a go-getter more than me. So first off, surround yourself with people that are go-getters, are A-types, whatever you want to call them.
Yep.
Closest 5 people, that saying, right?
Yeah.
So make sure you're around people that are like that. But, we were both always like that. If we're on a job site and what we were talking about, it was almost lunchtime or it was 1 o'clock or 2 o'clock, and we knew we only had an hour left. We're like, skip lunch, get the job done.
Right.
We could save the company money or whatever. I don't know.
Right.
But you're not a quitter.
Right.
If something didn't work, you'd go to the next thing. Or if something was giving you a hard time, you dig in deeper. So, no, it doesn't surprise me at all where you are.
And let me ask you then also, now that here we are, you and I have been friends for over 30 years, which is just insane to even say that number.
It's almost 40.
That's just plain out wrong.
Yeah.
That's wrong. Because I still feel like we just graduated high school.
Yeah, a little bit.
I mean, my back hurts a little bit more.
Yeah, physically a little bit, not so much. But I hear you.
We've been through a lot, and there's still things that I'm working on, that you're working on, and we all have our own struggles. We all have our own pivots. I mean, this podcast started because I was documenting this story on myself selling products on Amazon. Right?
Yeah.
That is still some of it, but not all of it.
Well, like you said, sometimes you have to pivot. If you think that you're going to get on a path and that thing's going to be gold the whole way, it's not going to happen.
No.
You've got to be able to make adjustments along the way.
No, 110%. Okay, so we got done. We wrapped up with the book. What is something that after we got all done, and it was, everything's all said and done, like, what's one thing that you think was like either a common thread or something that you think that someone would pull from the book?
I think it's that, everyone has struggles and you just have to work through them pretty much.
Yeah, there's no like one size fits all.
No, there's really not. I mean, everyone's going to have their own situations, struggles. I mean, my parents used to fight all the time too. They didn't end up getting a divorce. Maybe they should have. I don't know. They get along great.
Yeah.
Now, they're like any other couple, right? They don't like things about each other, but they love each other.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. No. It's yeah. And so what I look at too is, it's funny because as I'm reading the book that I wrote, which is technically the last 20 plus years of my life, right? And so you're going through all them and you're starting to think of stories and you're starting to see people's faces and you're starting to feel what you felt that day that your wife came to you and said, "Hey, we should start a photography studio." And you're like, "What?"
Where's this coming from?
Yeah, but then it all just kind of links itself back. But the biggest thing, and this here was what I actually used as like the 90-day roadmap, which the episode before this was the 90-day roadmap from the book. So if you missed that episode, go back and check that out, episode 749. But the big thing for me is nothing really has changed as far as you need to have your market. You need to niche down in that market. You need to figure out how to get attention in that market. Then you need to learn how to show up in that market, what medium, and then from there, how do you make sales? Like, that is it. Like, that is everything. Now, before we wrap this up, because I think we're going to get kicked out of the room here before long, because I think we have till 1 o'clock. We had an extended checkout here.
We got 5 minutes.
Yeah. No, we're going to be good. We're going to be good. We'll just let them know we got a couple more things we got to talk about here.
That's right.
The biggest thing, where was I? Oh, for you and I, we were literally just sitting down here, and you'd had something that you've been playing around with that you wanted to possibly do. And I don't want to give that away yet. I think maybe we might have you come back on another episode. Okay. But as we were going through it. We were doing the validation process. We were doing everything that I talk about in the book right here this morning. Right? I mean, Did you see how everything was kind of like how my brain was working? And like, you're giving me stuff and then I'm digging in and then I'm like, let's find a channel. Let's see what they're doing over here. Let's see if it's even viable. Let's see what kind of products would be selling. Everything, I was following that to a T. Right. So again, another little shameless plug. Here's one for you, brandcreators.com. Right now, the Academy is closed, but when we open, we can let you know. But more importantly, there's a checklist, a brand growth validation checklist there that you can follow. And it's basically exactly what you and I went through this morning, Jim. It's exactly to a T.
Right.
So guys, go grab that, brandcreators.com, and you can grab that. There's also a video there of me walking you through basically what I did with Jimmy this morning, looking over my shoulder. I basically validate these two markets. So definitely go check that out, brandcreators.com. So you and I were going through this thing, and I got actually more excited about it after we started digging in. Right. At first, it kind of came off as something that you thought would be kind of funny.
Well, yeah, we've been talking about, we all been talking about it for, I'd say, a year now.
Yeah.
At least.
Yeah.
And let's go back to another thing I took out of the reading in the book.
Yeah.
The take action moments. Okay?
Good one.
A year ago, I could have had a take action moment. Today, we had a take action moment. If I did that a year ago, where would I be?
Right.
I could have been crushing it, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, okay, so let me kind of give people what happened here. Okay, so this morning, you and I were having breakfast, and actually we finished up a day early on the recording, which is surprising. Like, I didn't know how quick it was going to go.
Well, like I said, for someone who doesn't like to read, who went in to do this studio thing that you hadn't done before,
right?
We were a day early.
Yeah.
That's pretty good. So.
Yeah, no, it was pretty good, and I felt pretty good when we got done. And I think it was like 10 or 11 hours in the studio.
Yep,
it was 2 days.
Yeah, it was about 10 hours.
Yeah,
and you can comment on this if after the fact. If you're listening to this and you've heard the audio, we'd like to hear what you think of how well he did on that.
Yeah, definitely. Go check it out. And again, I'll give a direct link out when that goes live. But definitely. And again, the book can be found at takeactioneffect.com. And you can grab your copy there. I always like getting a physical copy and the Audible version.
I agree.
That's what I do because I like to have the physical version of it. And this is also a book I really wanted people to be able to go back to because I think as you evolve, you're going to want to go back. And the first part of the book is really getting your mindset right.
Yeah.
There's a big chunk in there about your mindset, and you don't want to skip that. I'm telling you.
Well, you said having the physical book. I mean, I display it at the house, or in my office every day I can see that because every day you have to take action.
100%.
Taking action today and not doing anything isn't going to get you anywhere. Every single day you've got to do something to take action.
So just to kind of wrap this up and let people know that like we literally took action today. Okay. And this was something that you've been bringing to me as an idea for probably a year, maybe even a little bit longer than a year.
Right.
And I thought it was a funny idea. And I thought, you know what, this thing could probably do well. It's a YouTube play, really. But then from there, you could probably create some blog content. But it just was more of like, it would be funny and it could go viral type of thing. So it didn't really get me lit up as much as it would if there was like, I knew there was products behind it. I knew it was solving problems. I knew people would want to come back to it. And then today, you showed me a video that you shot on your phone to basically have it be one of your first videos.
Correct.
And I seen that and I go, this is pretty good. I go, you should just edit this up a little bit and then just put it up on YouTube. And you're like, yeah, I probably could, but I don't know. I don't really know if I like this about it or I don't know about that. And I go, listen, let's get that thing in my computer. Let's dice this thing up real quick and let's friggin' upload this thing, right? And so before we even did that, though, we started to dig into the market. And when I started to dig into the market, I found a channel that it really was solving the problem, but it was also very helpful. It was entertaining. And then I started to also see a ton of product opportunity.
Exactly.
A ton.
Exactly.
So then from there, I went over to, again, YouTube. I started to explore more channels. I started to explore this one channel in particular that we could model, not copy, model, get inspiration. And then from there, I went over and I looked at his blog and his website. Very, very little content there, very little traffic there. So there's an opportunity there for us. There's not really any lead magnet over there, which there could be. His biggest play right now is YouTube. And I think he had 16 or 18,000 subscribers, something like that. And he's been doing it for about a year,
Right.
which is great, right?
And to the point before, if I started a year ago,
You could be right there with him.
where could I could have been have more subscribers. Who knows?
Exactly. So what we did was I said, I love this idea. And the only way it's going to work is if you show up. You got to do at least one video a week, and from there we can talk about all the other stuff. But that's your commitment. And I do want to end on that, because I'm not going to end, but I want to end on that note as far as commitment and consistency.
As you're saying that, I'm looking at your schedule for your podcast. You've got your schedule. You know what's coming up. You know what's gone out.
Yep.
You know what you've recorded, what needs to be recorded, the whole thing.
Yeah. Well, and I was showing you that. Like, I've got a whole spreadsheet from the day I started the podcast. It's in Google Docs, and it just says podcast episodes, and everything is mapped out Monday, Wednesday, Friday. And I need to fill those in to stay ahead so I know what I'm recording. This here is kind of like a random episode that I'm putting in here, right? It just happened to be episode 750, which is awesome because I love that. Kind of like a milestone like that, you have something different and something special.
Yeah.
I think this is that episode. Here we are recording something that I never thought would ever happen. I'm here with you. We're able to do this. It worked out perfect.
I never thought I'd be on the podcast.
Well, there you go. Everyone's happy.
There you go.
Milestones they're just flying all over the place.
Take action effect.
Take action effect is in place as we speak.
That's right.
So I'm excited because now I think you also got a little bit more excited to see that there was this opportunity, and to see me get excited about it probably got you a little bit more excited. So now it's a matter of implementation. So I think, and you kind of agreed to it already. I don't know if I'll hold you to it or not if you decide not to, but
I agreed. So,
so I want to, I possibly am going to share part of this inside of Brand Creators Academy as a case study as well.
Sure.
I think it'd be interesting because this is a little bit of a different angle because it's starting with YouTube.
Right.
And then from there, building off of that. So I think it'll be interesting, and I think it'll just be interesting to even just show the process. And I kind of outlined it for you guys right here, and it's the same process that I go through in that PDF that you can download, brandcreators.com. Check it out. And again, the Academy is currently closed depending on when you're listening to this. But if you are interested in becoming a brand creator and part of our Academy, part of our tribe of creators, you definitely want to jump on that wait list, and you can do that by heading over to brandcreators.com. All right, Jimmy. I think we got to get out of here. I think we're going to get kicked out if we don't wrap this thing up.
Well, either we're going to get kicked out or they're going to charge you for another day for an extra 5 minutes.
That's true. Well, it might be worth it for this episode. I don't know.
There you go.
Any last little bits of advice, words, any thoughts that you want to leave people with before we wrap this baby up?
No, I'm just thinking, talking about being excited about this project, and I am excited, but I'm also anxious because as you're popping in there and validating and chopping up the video and knocking stuff out, I'm all like, I don't know how to do all that. So I still have to figure out how to do all that.
One step at a time.
One step at a time.
One chunk at a time.
But still got to take action.
Yep. It doesn't matter. And it's like, you and I were talking, it's like you have to go and you have to map it out. So what's the first thing, like, look, let me ask you, what's the first thing that you have to do without giving away, like, the market yet?
Right.
Who knows, in the future, we'll probably give it away. But what's the first step for you? I know what it is, but what's the first step for you?
Right now, I need to figure out what my content's going to be. I've got to make a list. And we talked about 3 different pillars of content.
Yep. Silos.
There you go.
Buckets.
So I've got to start filling those buckets up.
100%.
And then once I've got enough listed there, now I got to start creating those pieces of content. Once I have that, then I'm going to go in and figure out how to cut it up and how to enter it and all that kind of stuff.
Perfect. I love that. And like filling the bucket is like probably the most important part in the beginning. And so how are you going to fill the bucket? Just let people know a little bit, because I mean, we kind of walked through it a little bit, but like you're going to spend some time, you're going to dedicate time, let's say an hour block to doing what?
Well, I'm going to look at the person that we saw, maybe some others, maybe there's another person out there.
Oh, there are.
We only looked at one.
It's going to, yeah, exactly.
I'm going to look through and see which ones of their information or content creations has the most footing, has the most traction, has more views, that kind of thing. See what people want to hear. Because I can sit here and think in my head what I think people want, but that doesn't mean anything.
No. And that's why you're validating that the content that's being published, people actually are consuming and wanting.
That's right.
And I like that. And the other side just came to mind. If you guys are out there and you're going through YouTube to get ideas for content, one thing to look at, and this is what I always look at, and Jimmy, this is what I was showing you. Like, I look at, like, they had some videos that have gotten 200,000 views in a year. Okay?
Yep.
But what I look at, how many subscribers do they have? They only have 16,000, 18,000, but they got 200,000 views.
Yep.
What does that tell me?
It means there's a lot of organic views.
There we go,
Yep.
right? So it wasn't driven by their traffic that they already have because they have a whole bunch of subscribers.
Which is good, right?
It's
more,
great.
More subscribers, the more you can get a quick hit when you push stuff out.
Right.
But getting that organic stuff.
Yeah, and it shows me that I don't need to have a big YouTube channel
Right.
to get something out there that actually gets picked up by search.
Yeah, that's true. Hey.
So again, if you guys are looking at YouTube and you're going through this process, which I lead you through in Brand Creators, Academy, and the PDF that you can download, the checklist, it's basically going through there and then saying like, oh, this video is getting 200,000 views. Let me see who the channel is. Then I click on the video and then I see the channel, the name of the channel. I click on the channel. Then on the channel, I start to then dig into that and I go, oh, they've only got 15,000 subscribers, but 200,000 views on 5 videos.
Right.
That means that the content isn't just about their subscribers consuming it. It's about the search engines are pushing it out for them.
It's because people are actually looking for that specific information.
Exactly.
Yep.
So again, little side tip there for you guys. And the biggest thing, again, I want to leave people with from the book that I was just reminded that I reminded everyone else to do is really just, it is all about commitment and consistency. And that's what I was telling you. Listen, I don't care if, one thing you were like, I don't want to be in front of the same wall. I go, you know what? I'd rather you be in front of the same wall than not shoot a video at all.
Right. I would freeze up with, that's not good. Okay, I had that video in my phone for 5 months.
Yeah.
It's been sitting there.
Yeah.
I showed you, you're like, yeah, that's got to go out.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, it's not good enough. It's only a white wall.
Yeah.
I don't want all my videos to be the same. And
Yeah.
you're like, okay, so what are you going to do? Nothing?
Right.
You still got to do something.
Right. That video out there that is on that same white wall, 5 videos, is better than only having 1.
Or none.
Or none.
Yeah.
Right? So that's the mindset that you got to get yourself. You can always improve it. You can always get better. But the thing is I want you and everyone else to show up every single week consistently. That's what I said to you. I go, when I pop on YouTube every Monday or Wednesday or Friday, whatever the day is that you're going to commit to, I want to see a video posted. And if not, why?
Right.
Why? You better have a damn good excuse why it's not pushed out. Because for the next 52 weeks, you should have at least 1 video. I said at least because you could do more. 1 video at least every single week. And, Jesse, who I shared in the book, who has a distillery that, he's done alcohol distilling and stuff. He went out there and did exactly what I'm talking about here. And now I haven't looked, I should probably look, but he was over 30,000 subscribers. When I interviewed him, he was at 15 or 16. And that thing is growing because he committed to 52 weeks, 1 video per week.
You know what I love about his story is he wasn't an expert at all. Did that stop him?
Didn't stop him at all.
No, went in there and he showed his audience his process of becoming educated, basically.
Every week.
And learning how to do this process.
Exactly.
So what are you typing there?
I'm going to try to pull his channel up.
Okay.
Oh, he's at 35,100 right now. Okay. So when I interviewed him, he's at like 15,000. Oh, we got a little video going there. So, okay. So yeah, so he's at 35,000 right now, Jim. All right. And if you look, guys, I'm doing this on the fly. 7 hours ago, he posted a video. It's got 1,300 views.
Yep.
Okay. And then 6 days ago, he posted one, 5,000 views.
And how long's he had this channel? A year or so?
This is over a year now. It's probably closer to about 18 months.
And how much more educated would you say he is now versus 18 months ago?
on the process of creating content or the process of distilling alcohol?
Both.
Well, both, right. But the cool thing is he's really now learning the process of content creation.
Right.
He's learning what people want, what they don't like. He's doing thumbnails better now. He's learning that process.
And how does that happen? Through getting out there, running, tripping and falling and stumbling and getting back up and doing it again and again.
100%.
And that's how you learn.
Exactly. You got to just keep going. So I want to encourage anyone out there that is listening, whether you own a 7-figure brand right now and you're only selling on one channel, whether that's Amazon, eBay, your Shopify, whatever it is, if you're only selling your physical products on one channel right now, you need to diversify. And I believe that what is not going to go away is people consuming really good content, that you can educate your market, that you can become a really, really great resource for your market. And then from there, selling will become very, very easy. And your channels to diversify, whether it's your physical products, whether it's building your email list, whether it's selling affiliate products, whatever it is, your opportunities open up so much by doing this. And actually, we have a few people that joined Brand Creators Academy that are doing 7 figures on Amazon, but they see the writing on the wall. So again, if you're in that camp, I would definitely recommend grabbing that checklist to go through and validate that you can grow your business in a way that we're talking here, which is through content and email list building and just showing up to your market. So, all right, Jimmy, I think we got to wrap this baby up.
Yeah, we don't want to pay an extra whatever.
Well, I think we got lunch too. We got to go to lunch.
We got to go to lunch.
Really nice pub over here.
Yep. Well, hey, I got to say, I never thought I'd be on a podcast. Hopefully, this thing that we talked about that we started this morning, is doing well, and then we can get back on here and talk about it.
Well, now it's you're kind of like going to be held accountable. Right?
I want to get back on this podcast.
And you want to have something to share that you actually did. And you don't say, the last time I talked that we posted one video in the hotel room and now I only got one.
Well, I'm not getting back on the podcast unless I get something done.
This is true.
Right?
This is true.
I know you. I got to earn my way back onto the podcast here.
This is true. All right, guys, we're going to wrap this up. Again, the show notes can be found at theamazingseller.com/750. And then also the book, go grab a copy, takeactioneffect.com. And you can read the book and then learn from the book and take action with that book. All right, guys, remember, as always, I'm here for you. I believe in you and I am rooting for you. But you have to, come on, say it with me, say it loud, say it proud. On the count of 3, Jimmy's gonna say it on the count of 3. 1, 2, 3, take action. Have an awesome, amazing day, and I'll see you right back here on the next episode. That went pretty good.